the last question we'll go back to is, what's the fastest way back to health? And what are the steps? And I know we've talked about the full spectrum, but if anybody just walked in here and wanted to say, where do I start? What would you do with them?
First of all, detoxify and cleanse the body.
Okay.
Second of all, clean up your diet.
Okay.
Okay. Thirdly, try to exercise a little bit once in a while.
Okay.
And fourth, take a good full spectrum broad based supplement that will replace the missing nutrients that you can no longer get from the standard American diet.
And you need well over, what, 120 a day?
We know of at least 103 nutrients that are absolutely essential to the human biochemistry. Then there are others that we haven't proven yet, but are highly likely. So I'm thinking that you need to be up there well over 100. And people always say, well, how do I know if the supplement I'm taking is good?
Excellent.
But you don't have to be a biochemist and try to figure out the label and read. Just turn the label over and count the nutrients. Never mind what they are.
Right.
Just count them. And a really good vitamin will have maybe 45 to 55 nutrients, so you're only missing half.
Excellent way to put it. Excellent. Well, and in the full spectrum has all those plus, what, 126?
136.
136.
As of the latest formulation.
Wow. Okay, the second question I know comes from Mandy in Des Moines. And again, it's a disease process. It's Lyme disease. And we get a lot of people out here. And we know, I'm just going to let you, this is the question. I'll just send it back over to you. Lyme disease, what's my first step?
Well, first step is understanding that you do have a disease that is caused by a pathogenic process. So you've got a bacteria virus situation going on. And as such, it is almost impossible to eliminate. But we can certainly support the body and teach it and strengthen it to where it can encapsulate this bug and present minimal problems. And it's no different really than you've got hepatitis, you've got all these various virus and to some lesser extent some bacteria that are going to be with us for life. Once you get them, you got them.
Mm-hmm.
The only difference is if the body responds in the way that it was intended, you build antibodies, you build various other protective measures to where that microbe no longer negatively affects you. So, for example, someone who contracts hepatitis, eventually, should they get over it, which most people do, they'll never have another problem with it. They can be exposed to it once a week and they're never going to get it again. They got it. They've already got it.
Right.
Okay? And you're not cured from these things. They're still present, which means, for example, people with certain types of hepatitis can never donate blood.
Right.
Because that blood would give hepatitis to the person who received it, but not to them because their system has conquered it.
Protected
it has
it.
learned to live with it.
Now, when you say protected, would that be like a grain of sand would be for making a pearl, or does it
in a way, yeah, in a way. Yeah, that's a good analogy in a way. And in order to help the body do that, there's several things that we would want to do. First of all, we want to balance the body chemistry, so we want to give them a good nutrient product. Second of all, we want to make sure their immune system is functioning as well as, in fact, it can. And there are certain nutrients that have been shown to be very helpful in not only stimulating the immune system, but actually nourishing it. And I think that's the key. A couple of decades ago, it was quite the fancy to produce products that were immune boosters, immune stimulators.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine as far as it goes. However, if you overstimulate something for too long, the end result is exhaustion.
Yes.
Okay?
Yep.
So if you're going to push and force your immune system, eventually it's going to get tired and it's going to sit down and take a vacation. Then you have a problem. What we have done is we not only have immune stimulants, we also have immune nourishing nutrients. So we're feeding the immune system's basic coreness at the same time we're asking it to work overtime.
Beautiful.
And by doing so, we can usually help the body to produce a faster immune response without the end result of exhaustion.
Beautiful. I can see, and even me included, of stimulating, and overstimulating, and then just crashing. I think a lot of my clients could even say that. I mean, I
Well,
think
and
I'm
I think
guilty as
I think one of the
anybody.
classic examples of that, which I'm sure you see on a daily basis, is people with adrenal exhaustion.
Yes.
Huh? Because we're all wrapped up under various stresses,
Yes.
and months, even years of ongoing stress, where the adrenal glands are forced to produce these stress response chemicals. Eventually, they become exhausted, and adrenal exhaustion is one of the most common chronic problems in our society.
Without question. And that, that can be, describe that a little bit for our audience, adrenal exhaustion, for people that don't know what it is.
Well, your adrenal glands produce powerful hormones in response to stress.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that these hormones are produced in response to stress, whether the stress is real or perceived. So if you have someone who is constantly anxious, even for no reason, the people who worry about not having anything to worry about, the adrenal glands don't know the difference. So they're going to produce these hormones in response to anxiety just as well as they're going to produce stress hormones if somebody comes up behind you and threatens to club you over the head. So whether the stress or the fear or the situation is real or perceived, the adrenal glands don't know the difference. So if you're in a constant state of anxiety, stress, worry, fear, for whatever reason, it doesn't matter, whether it's real or it's imaginary, the adrenal glands don't know the difference. So after weeks and months and perhaps even years of this, the adrenal glands just simply become exhausted. It's like picking up a 10-pound barbell with your arm. Weighs practically nothing.
Right.
Well, do it 100 times and see how it feels.
Right.
It's all quantity. So the more you overwork an organ, or an organ system in the body, the greater the chance for exhaustion.
Great.
And we never see the stress response cycle for people watching that don't know what that is, goes in a loop. Okay, you have the stimulus. Okay, this is whatever causes it's whatever causes the crisis or the perceived crisis. Then you have the reaction stage. Then you have the rebound.
Right.
And the rebound is very, very important because that's what recycles and regenerates your chemistry. Well, for many people, they're chronically, constantly in this upper state of response. So they never regenerate. They never rebound. They never come round again. And that's what leads to adrenal exhaustion. Fortunately, there are several nutrients that have been isolated that we can use in very high doses that can actually bring your adrenals around in a matter of weeks.
Well, I know from some of the product I've begun to use with you, that's just been amazing. Just really in a couple days, that even my husband and I have it's really changed the nutrient. It's just I feel like my body's being nourished, and it's hard to describe it yet. It clicked right in. I knew exactly what was going on. So I'm glad you discussed that with our clients. All right, this is another question I get a lot. Is I get out of control with my eating between 4 and 6 every day. What can I do?
Okay. The majority of people who have this problem are carbohydrate intolerant.
Okay.
And they have a classic pattern to their eating habits. They're not hungry in the morning. They don't think about food before midday.
Okay.
But after 4 or 5 o'clock till bed, they can eat anything that can't run fast enough.
There you go.
And that particular cycle is related to their insulin production.
Okay.
So the best thing to do is to take nutrients like chromium, vanadium, aspartic acid, in the right combinations. And we have researched this very, very carefully. And we have a formula now that's also the formula that we use for diabetics. But it works very, very well for people who are dealing with a weight problem and or who have food cravings, especially for starch and sugary foods. And those will usually occur after 4 or 5 o'clock, way into the evening.
So is that the sugaries? Is that
that's the formula is being currently sold under the name of GlucoCrave.
There you go. Thank you. Okay, excellent. Well, good to know for you guys out there that question is. All right. We've talked about this, but I want to just really pin it down. What is the full spectrum concept?
Okay. It's a term I coined in 1991 because I was looking at all of these supplements on the market, of which there were thousands, I suppose, and a lot of them were good.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them were awful, but a lot of them were good.
Right.
But they all seemed to have one or more factors missing. So people ended up, if they wanted to get all the nutrients in a spectrum, let's say we start over here with the vitamins, then we move to the minerals, then we move to the amino acids, and then the phytonutrients and antioxidants, and so on down the line. And if you line them all up together, we call it the full spectrum, A to Z. Okay, all the nutrients known to human biochemistry as being essential. There was not one single product out there that had all of those in one formula, which means that if a person wanted to get the optimal benefit from supplementation, they had to buy 3 or 4 products. To me, the downside of that was twofold. First of all, people are inherently lazy. You can't get them to take 1, let alone 6. Secondly, it's expensive. You know, $150, $200, $250 a month per person. So it becomes impractical and therefore useless. So in the early 1990s, I said there's got to be a way to put all these nutrients in one bottle. Well, when we began that, there were numerous hurdles to overcome because these nutrients are like members of a very large family. You always have some that don't get along with others. And when you put them together in the same space, they argue with each other and cause each other physical harm. In other words, they break down. For example, you cannot put vitamin C with vitamin A in any quantity, especially in a liquid, because the vitamin A will not be happy. So we had to overcome these chemistry problems through things like space dividers, enteric coatings, various other issues that went on in this formula. Then when those were accomplished, I decided I wanted a formula that actually was alive and not dead, because the majority of us consume a diet of mostly dead, lifeless food. And I thought, well, the last thing we need is a dead, lifeless supplement. The shelves of health food stores and drugstores were full of those already. So I thought, well, what are we going to do about that? So then I had to figure out how I could put living enzyme activity in there without breaking down the compounds that we had, such as the phytonutrients. So then there was further insulation and separation and tweaking involved. Well, I came up with the first product in 1991 that contained 96, I think it was 94 or 96 nutrients. And that was really a nutritional breakthrough because it had never been done before. That concept, which I labeled full spectrum nutrition, has evolved from there. And that evolution has led us to a more refined product, a better balanced product, a more exclusive product, a more extensive product. We're now up to 136 nutrients in our full spectrum concept. And it's a much more stable product. And the best thing is that it is completely bioactive or living.
That's just amazing.
And I think that adds a great factor to the body's ability to absorb nutrients. See, one of the early pioneers of nutrition in America was Adele Davis. A lot of people in nutrition today don't even know who she was, but she was one of the premier pioneers in nutrition. And she used to be fond of saying, you are what you eat. And she said, well, if you eat decent, you'll be healthy. If you eat crap, well, guess what? But we know now today that there are other factors involved in that. It's not just what you eat, it's what you absorb. If your digestion is shot, if you're so toxic your body can't function, well, then you can take all the nutrients you want. You're not going to absorb them. They're going to go out the back end the same way they went in the front. So we need all the help we can get, especially in people over 50. So I tried to make a living product, one that had a pH that actually is conducive to absorption and so on. So we have considered virtually every factor in this concept, and I thought that full spectrum was a delightful term.
Well, it's beautiful. I love the product. Okay, as we're moving along here, you address specific health problems nutritionally?
Okay. As we just discussed, I believe that every person should be on a baseline full spectrum product.
Excellent.
I think the only people who will not benefit from that are no longer breathing.
Okay.
But other than that, I think regardless of their age or condition, I think they're nuts if they don't.
Right.
That's just my point of view as a
Right.
biochemist,
Right.
knowing how the body works.
Right.
But let's say we're dealing with a person who hasn't chosen to do that. And they have arrived at a stage in their life where they are now dealing with a chronic condition: arthritis, diabetes, osteoporosis and bone loss, prostate inflammation in men. None of these things are contagious. They're the result of decades of biochemical imbalance.
Amazing.
Now, what we have to do, we have to look and say, okay, this person is not in the middle. Therefore, using a full spectrum product alone is not going to keep them in the middle. They're over here somewhere. Now, if we use a full spectrum product in this person, theoretically, in many months or years, it will help to slowly move them back where they need to be.
Mm-hmm.
But what if this person would like to arrive at better health sooner than several years? Then we begin to look at what nutritional and biomedical science has shown to us, that in super high doses of certain key nutrients for short periods of time, we can bring this person from this more extreme state of unwellness back to the middle quicker.
Beautiful.
And that concept we call targeted nutrition.
Excellent.
We target all the key nutrients shown by science to be a benefit to that specific problem, and we put them in one mega dose formulation.
Wonderful. And for most of my clients, they want to get back to that center.
And they want to do it yesterday.
They want to do it yesterday.
Yeah.
So I think it's a beautiful concept. We talked about the 4 different things you really want to promote for people, and one is detoxification. What would be the role of detoxification for health and wellness, along with?
Well, I think that it's pivotal. And the human body has certain mechanisms built into it for detoxification.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, a vast majority of people have created a lifestyle for themselves that shuts most of that down. We don't exercise. We don't perspire. Okay, there's 2 big detoxification factors that are no longer
Right.
being used. They're not being utilized, or at least not effectively.
Right.
Okay. We ingest more toxins than the body can eliminate often. And if the body is not functioning well because of the presence of cofactors like other chronic diseases,
Mm-hmm.
the body's ability to detoxify steadily and can rapidly decrease.
Right. So we really don't have the mojo to get it all done.
Right. So sometimes we need to detoxify these people, and there's a variety of ways of doing that. There are 2 major forms of detoxification, and that's systemic and cellular.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on the situation, you might want to address one or the other, or both, depending upon a person's problems. But I think that if you have someone who is significantly hypertoxic, I think if you don't address that early on, I think a lot of other things that you might want to do for them that theoretically would be wonderful will have less than optimal benefits because they're so toxic.
Right.
The body's not able to receive and benefit from the rest of it until they're cleansed.
Yeah, it's a beautiful way to put it. Now, North Pole magnets. I know that you're wearing a North Pole magnet on your left wrist there. Tell the audience your take on that, and if you think it would be beneficial.
Well, I think it's fascinating. Let's start out with that. And I think it's fascinating because I have done in the 1980s. I did a lot of work with bioelectrical circuitry of the human body. The human body is basically a north-south pole magnet.
Mm-hmm.
It is positively charged.
Okay.
And we are meant to be grounded to the negatively charged planet in which we live. However, human beings are virtually the only living things that spend most of their time insulated from the earth. All other plants, animals are constantly grounded to the earth,
Right.
except for us. In our infinite stupidity, we've designed footwear and various other things that ensure that we are insulated from the ground. And in so doing so, you interrupt the flow of magnetic energy, which comes from outer space, literally. You can see the power of that when a lightning bolt strikes. I mean, that's how powerful the planet is. Its negativity is so powerful that it's drawing the positive electrical charge out of the atmosphere. And that's what a lightning bolt is. It's basically discharging excess positive energy. Well, we have the same positive energy. And in my work as a biochemist, I know that if I negatively charge key minerals, those minerals' absorption goes up 200%.
That's amazing.
So it's not a very far leap to say, what if we wanted to accelerate the exchange of positive negative ions, North and South Pole? It's all this, it's the same language.
Right, exactly.
What would happen if we were able to accelerate that? Would the body detox? Would it increase its energy? Would it increase its ability to heal? Would it increase its regenerative abilities? I believe that it could. So I think that it is while I think that there is a lot we still need to learn about bioenergies, I think it's a good step in the right direction. It's totally harmless. I mean, no one's ever died from a magnet, to my knowledge. So I think it's something that possibly can be of tremendous benefit and certainly can't hurt anybody. And I think it's a great tool to use in conjunction with other facets of natural regeneration.
And we're talking specifically about the BioNorth.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And not to be confused that South Pole would give the same energy.
No.
You and I both understand that, but just other people. Magnet, there are differences.
Well, the quickest way to understand that is to get yourself a nice strong magnet and sit on the south side.
Yeah, that's true.
And you'll understand what we know already about it.
Yes, so you don't want to go there.
Yes,
oh,
you will be tired, you will be irritable, you will be all these terrible
things. Talk about a pain in the butt.
That's right.
Literally
exactly.
a pain in the butt. Oh, excellent, excellent. Well, we talked a little bit about the nutrient test, and we're going to have we have the Candida test online, but we're going to bring that and have everything online so people can really log on to our website and take a look at it. You know, it's a wonderful tool. Just the people that we've had in here today are really excited about it. And if I believe, what did you say, 52 different sections?
Yeah, there are several different sections. There's over 50 of them presently. Yep. We are looking at expanding that. But what it does is it helps us to identify what a person might need beyond baseline.
Oh, beautiful.
As I said before, I think everyone still breathing should consider using a baseline nutritional product. But beyond that, and the body tells us every day what it wants, what it needs. We just don't listen because it doesn't speak the language that we've been taught. We don't listen to it. Not only do we not listen, we don't even hear it. If someone approaches you and speaks a language that you don't understand, you may not understand it, but you can at least hear them.
Yes.
But the body speaks a silent language that none of us seem to either choose or care to learn. Yet every time you have an ache or a pain or a problem or a headache, these are all ways that the body's telling you something is other than optimal.
Interesting.
Okay? But we ignore them. We have paid pharmaceutical companies billions of dollars to create drugs to cover these things over so that we feel good. Ignoring the problem, allowing us to ignore the problem, and yet the cause of the problem goes unaddressed. Because when you take an aspirin or an Advil or whatever bloody thing you take for a headache, do you think it's curing the cause of the problem? No. It's covering up the problem so you don't feel it.
Amazing.
And so the body speaks in a language of symptoms. And what we've done with the nutrient evaluation test is we've isolated hundreds of these symptoms and their correlation to key nutrient deficiencies. And when a person fills out the nutrient evaluation test, our computer runs that through and correlates one symptom against the other and comes up with a list of likely deficient nutrients. Based on that report, we can then build a formula or recommend a formula that will address those deficiencies aggressively.
Oh, for example, that brings to mind, I have another client that's not really written here, but I'm going to ask it to you. Gentleman, 55, has chronic headaches and ringing in the ear. So that's obviously something is not right. And that would we're going to give him the nutritional evaluation so we can pinpoint what that particular thing is. That shows you right there.
I'll bet he has a magnesium and manganese deficiency, among other things. But
yeah.
Right off the top, I'll bet.
Yeah, I bet so too. That's amazing. Okay, now I get this question a lot, and I want you to help me and everybody else distinguish what these two things are. Eczema and psoriasis are two different things.
Totally different.
Two different situations or nutritional deficiencies that we can be helped.
One of them certainly is.
Okay, well let's start with eczema.
Eczema is a fatty acid deficiency.
Okay.
Almost exclusively.
That's crazy.
Okay.
Wow.
And if you give somebody enough omega-3, you can almost always put it in remission. Psoriasis, on the other hand, is an autoimmune disorder. It is a situation wherein the person's immune system is attacking the skin cells. This becomes a very, very daunting challenge because we have to be very careful when it comes to nutrients, because nutrients build the body up, right? They make the body work more efficiently. They increase various things systems and their efficiency. Mm-hmm. Well, the last thing we want to do with somebody suffering from an autoimmune condition is improve their immune response.
Yes. Interesting.
Okay?
Yes.
It doesn't matter whether it's psoriasis or whether it's Crohn's or whether it's, any of these autoimmune conditions, rheumatoid arthritis, any of them. You do not want to give them anything that's going to further enhance their immune response. That's why medicine is giving them immunosuppressants, because that's the only way we know now to manage these conditions. Mm-hmm. There is no other way, medically or nutritionally. It's only through immunosuppression. And, of course, that has a whole host of potential side effects.
Yes.
But it's the only game in town right now.
Right.
So if someone has got a skin condition like this, it is essential that they learn from a professional, preferably a dermatologist, what they actually have. Mm-hmm. If they have psoriasis, they have a much bigger problem. Okay. And they may need, if it's significant enough, they may need to turn to medicine and immunosuppression. If it is eczema, however, it can oftentimes be controlled by using topical skin moisturizers and increasing fatty acids somewhere at around 3 to 5 grams a day.